The rain was a greasy curtain plastered against the windows of my office, blurring the neon glow of the Blue Moon Club across the street. It mirrored the state of my mood, slick and unpleasant. My name's Jack Rourke, and I'm a private investigator. Some folks call me a bloodhound, others a glorified snoop. I just call myself a survivor. The dame sitting across from me didn't look like a survivor. She looked like a portrait, all curves and sorrel, draped in a sable coat that probably cost more than my entire operation. Her name was Vivian Sterling, and she's married to Arthur Sterling, a shipping magnate with more enemies than friends. My husband, he's disappeared, she said, her voice trembling just enough to betray the practiced composure. Vanished without a trace. Arthur Sterling was a big deal. His shipping lines controlled a significant chunk of the import-export business in the city, and that attracted all sorts, businessmen, gangsters, politicians, all with a vested interest in seeing him either succeed or fail spectacularly. When did you last see him? I asked, swirling the lukewarm coffee in my chipped mud. 3 nights ago. He said he had a meeting at the docks. A late one. He often has those. Her long, crimson nails tapped against the polished surface of my desk. He never came home. The docks. A lovely place to disappear, full of shadows, crates, and people who didn't ask questions. Did he say who he was meeting? No, he just said it was a business matter. He doesn't usually tell me about those. She offered a strange smile that didn't reach her eyes. He's secretive. Secretive husbands and missing shipping tycoons. This smelled like trouble, the kind that paid well but could leave you swimming with the sharks. I'm taking the case, Mrs. Sterling. The Sterling residence was a monument to ostentatious wealth, a sprawling mansion perched atop a hill overlooking the city. The uniformed butler, a man named Higgins who looked perpetually disapproving, led me to the library, a cavernous room filled with leather-bound books and the scent of old money. I started with the obvious Arthur's office. Higgins had already tidied up, which meant he's wiped away any evidence of a struggle, but some things are harder to erase. I found a half-smoked cigar in the ashtray, a brand Arthur didn't smoke. A faint scent of cheap cologne hung in the air, and tucked beneath a pile of shipping manifests, a single playing card, the Queen of Spades. A calling card. A warning. Someone wanted Mrs. Sterling or Arthur to know they were watching. My investigation led me to the Blue Moon Club, a notorious haunt for smugglers and racketeers. Arthur Sterling was a regular, known for his high-stakes poker games and his willingness to grease the right pawns. I talked to the bartender, a burly man named Frankie Fingers Morty, who reluctantly admitted Arthur had been there the night he disappeared. He was playing poker, Frankie grunted, wiping down the bar with a damp rag. Lost a lot of money, seemed agitated. Who was he playing with? Frankie hesitated, then leaned in conspiratorially. Some new faces, guys I hadn't seen before, rough-looking types. He named a few, the Hammer Sealers, and a woman known only as Lila. Lila, apparently, was the brains of the operation, a sharp-tongued dame with a reputation for playing hardball. Lila, the Queen of Spades. The connection slammed into me with the force of a freight train. I found Lila at a backroom gambling den in the city's poorest district. The air was thick with smoke and desperation. Lila was dealing cards, her eyes cold and calculating. She wasn't surprised to see me. Mr. Rourke, she said, her voice smooth as silk. To what do I owe the pleasure? Arthur Sterling, I said, cutting straight to the chase. Where is he? Lila smiled, a predatory curve of her lips. Arthur is where he needs to be. Out of the picture. Who made you think you could do that? Let's just say he owed some people a significant debt. A debt he couldn't repay. She was evasive, but I could see a flicker of something in her eyes. Fear. Someone was pulling her strings. Who's behind this, Lila? She wouldn't answer, but her silence spoke volumes. I needed leverage. I went back to Mrs. Sterling, armed with what I knew. Your husband wasn't just involved in shipping, was he? He was smuggling, wasn't he? And he owed money to some very dangerous people. Lila and her crew. Mrs. Sterling didn't deny it. Her composure cracked, revealing a cool, calculating woman beneath the veneer of grief. Arthur was a fool, she said, her voice barely a whisper. He thought he could play both sides. But he got greedy. She's been working with Lila, a double cross in the making. Lila, thinking she had Arthur where she wanted him, had planned to silence him permanently. But Mrs. Sterling had her own agenda. She's orchestrated Arthur's disappearance, using Lila as a pawn to eliminate him and take control of his empire. The rain hadn't stopped. It was relentless, mirroring the truth unfolding before me. I traced the call to Arthur's last known location, a dilapidated warehouse down by the docks. Inside, I found him tied to a chair, bruised but alive. Mrs. Sterling sent me, I said, cutting through his bonds. She used Lila to frame you. Arthur looked at me, a mixture of relief and betrayal in his eyes. She wanted it all, he whispered. The company, the money. We left the warehouse, the sirens wailing in the distance. The police had been alerted, thanks to an anonymous tip, a final act of defiance from Lila. She wasn't happy about being used. She had her own plans, her own ambitions. As I watched Arthur being escorted to a police car, I knew this wasn't over. Lila was still out there, and Mrs. Sterling had a long road ahead of her. This city was full of shadows, and the game was far from finished. My office awaited, the neon glow of the Blue Moon Club a constant reminder of the darkness that thrived beneath the surface. Another case closed, another layer of deception exposed. But in this city, there was always another mystery waiting in the wings, another betrayal simmering beneath the surface, another rain-soaked night waiting to unfold.